Hi, my name is Matt Hennessy. This is my wife, Laura, and we've been gracespring family members since 2017.
So we met at Michigan State University in 1997.
Really, honestly, from our first conversation, we've talked about our individual desires to have families. And then, of course, when you get more and more committed in a relationship, those individual desires become mutual desires, and you start to envision what it would look like to have a family.
Fairly early on in our marriage, we discovered that the giant that we were facing was infertility. And we were young 20s, so everyone around us, family, siblings, friends, were all getting pregnant and having families. And we were ready, and we thought, certainly this is going to happen, and we discovered it wasn't.
And when it didn't just happen, the burden was in our heart of why isn't this happening? And of course, we had so many conversations. It felt like it was every conversation. We couldn't go out to eat. We couldn't have a date without it coming up. It just enveloped our entire life.
We just continued to pray, and we just felt like, okay, God, we're going to give this to you, and you don't want us to move forward with some of these recommendations that the doctors thought may or may not help. And that was scary because we didn't know what that meant for our family. Okay, God, you're telling us don't do this, but yet we're still not getting pregnant. And so we just had to open our hands and say, here you go. And we didn't know what that meant. So that was really tough.
You know, as our hearts began to change from looking at a natural family to going, are we going to have a family? We started asking these real questions into our heart and mind. And, of course, thankfully we love and appreciate one another, but we were still going, we feel like our family should be something more, something different. I had the opportunity in chiropractic school to do a chiropractic mission trip. We actually went to Bolivia. And the connection with these kids and just the love and the compassion with these kids and just the simplicity of giving them a hard candy. They were your best friend for the rest of your life. And it was such a blessing. And I told her, I says, the one souvenir I want is I want to bring home a kid. And she, of course, thought that was a silly statement.
The whole rest of the trip, God just was moving in my heart. We had never really even talked about adoption, and it was so interesting because he was thousands of miles away, and he comes home and we talk about it, and it was just goosebumps to how God was moving with him and opening his heart, and the same for me.
When it comes to making the choice, it was a choice outside of ourselves because I had just graduated chiropractic school, which isn't free. I just bought a brand new office. It isn't free. We had just bought a brand new house. It isn't free. So all these other costs were burdening on top of us. And we went, Lord, this is what you're calling us to do. So we took this leap of faith and God provided. And by the time, Joshua was in our arms, everything was paid for. I don't know how. I have no clue how, but everything was paid for. If you asked me to actually try to work back and account the numbers, I don't know. It just happened. The other blessing as well is my Aunt Sue, my Uncle Nate, have 3 amazing adopted kids, but their daughter is adopted from Guatemala. So it just felt the Lord was speaking and saying, look at this connection. You can adopt this child and he will immediately have a cousin that's 100% Guatemalan as well. And so that was a tremendous blessing and a push for us, and that's where we pursued that route.
So we officially had gotten all the paperwork done, and then you get put on a waiting list, and it's typically months and months and months. 2 weeks onto this list, and I get a phone call at work on May 26th, 2006, and our social worker said, you have a son. In that moment, all the unexplained infertility and all the prayers and confusion and it all made sense. It was that pain didn't have a hold on us anymore.
Every single day, we get to stare in the eyes, we get to tuck into bed, we get to give hugs and kisses to and giggle and tickle and have a wonderful time with an answered prayer. It's such a gift, it's such a blessing. We're not worthy of that. And that's just another aspect of grace. We don't deserve to be able to have this clear of an answered prayer. We've not done anything to earn that. We just opened up our hands wide and said, Lord, this is the path you're taking us on. We're going to keep going towards it until you tell us to stop. And oh, by the way, it stopped. And February 5th, 2007, we got him in our arms and we just went, yep, it all makes sense now. We got it.
I really recommend that you just give it to the Lord and don't try to fight your Goliath on your own. He wants to come alongside you. He wants to help you. And those prayers don't get answered overnight. And sometimes they don't look how you anticipate, but it requires a lot of patience and perseverance and just truly trusting God in every situation.